Hello everyone and welcome to the new episode of the Darktable. For this episode I don't have any specific topic, but I would like to edit a few photos and address some issues which are quite common, especially for the new users. And first issue is the question, is there any particular order by using the modules which should be considered by editing of photos? And I will say no. The Darktable, you can imagine Darktable as some kind of workbench with a lot of different tools for different purposes, and depending on the task you choose that tool accordingly. And to be able to have some structure by your editing, you need to analyze your raw file first to be able to get the idea what kind of order you can use for that particular photo. So to be able to demonstrate that, I would like to start editing, and we can talk about that on the way. This photo have some potential to be a nice autumn scene, because we have that nice greenish yellowish leaves on the trees, and nice blue sky as color contrast, and also the reflections in the water. But first we need to deal with some issues, and the first issue is that we have some brightness gradient. Upper part of the photo is much brighter than bottom part. That's the first thing. And second thing is, in the bottom part we have crushed darks, crushed shadows, and also quite high contrasts. So we need to deal with that first, and then we will see what will be the next step. And for that I will use the filmic module, because I know the filmic module adds automatically some kind of contrast. So we will reduce that in the look tab first, and we can see a little bit better the bottom part of the photo, but at the same time we have lost those local contrast in the upper part. But that doesn't matter now, because we will deal with that with other modules. And I will also go to the scene tab and compress a little bit shadows, so that we see even more details there. So that is the first step, and then we have now some kind of flat looking photo, but we can recognize all details, and we can deal with those details in the next step. So now I would like to add some brightness to the photo. So I will use exposure module and go a little bit up. And I don't want to go too far, because I want to have a little bit of room here, because if I add later contrast, we will need that room for that contrast, so that we don't go above dynamic range. And next step will be to balance those differences in brightness. So I will use another exposure module, another instance, and maybe gradient mask, something like that. And toggle the polarity of the mask so that we influence only the bottom part. Maybe go even further in the gradient. And now I will add a bit of lightness there. And we have now a much brighter picture, but it's quite flat, and we need to deal with that in the next step. Now I will use a color balance RGB module because I know that I can enhance a little bit the saturation there and also the contrasts with help of this module. So let's give it some vibrance, use perceptual saturation grading because we are adding also the contrast through that saturation. Remove some from the highlights, and also I would like to use perceptual brilliance grading because we can add even more contrast there. And now maybe a little bit of linear chroma grading globally, and I don't know, midtones, a little bit of highlights. And as you can see, we have already improved our photo quad a lot, but it's not enough. And we will now go a step further with another module. Now I would like to add even more contrast on the photo, and for that I will use tone equalizer. This time I will use simple tone curve because I would like to enhance the contrast in the highlights. We have enough contrasts in the shadows and midtones. So I will need to adjust a mask so that I can use that part where are the highlights. And now I will go up a little bit and maybe just a little bit down there. Something like that. And as you can see, we are going too far here, so maybe not too much there. Let me see. Okay. Before and after. And we have improved our contrast even more. But I would like to do a few other things with another modules. Okay, now I would like to improve that color contrast on the top part of the photo so that we have that nice distinction between sky and leaves. So I will use next instance of color calibration, brightness tab, and darken the sky a little bit. But I don't want to do that everywhere, so I will use gradient mask again and apply it only on the top part so that we don't get darkened the bottom part. Let's say maybe something like that. Let's improve that a little bit. Something like that. And now you can immediately see that we have that nice glowing on the leaves, much better. And we are not clipping here too much. Okay, let's see what will be the next step. Now we will improve local contrast a little bit, and for that I will use diffuse and sharpen module, just the preset, add local contrast to see what is going on and adjust it a little bit. Maybe go with edge threshold a little bit down. I don't know, maybe here. Also central radius before and after. And let me see. Okay, we need to adjust that quite dark part, so we'll use parametric mask and protect the shadows from influence of that module. And now we have nice details everywhere, and maybe, let me see, I think we have here some issues with chromatic aberrations, so I will now turn on lens correction module and also denoising, because we have some noise in the sky, and I will try to adjust manually that chromatic aberrations because the automatic chromatic aberration is not good enough, so let's try that manually. Let's see, there is something like that, and now it looks much better. And I will also turn on chromatic aberration module itself, and I think we are done with that. And as a last step, maybe I will like to add just a tiny bit of the lightness in this part because it's too dark. So I will use a next instance of exposure module, this time a drone mask, like that. Let me see, and add just a tiny bit of exposure there, not too much. Maybe improve the feathering a little bit, and also feathering there. So let me see. Yeah, it looks much better now. And as you can see, we have now that look that I'm searching at the start of editing. We have that nice autumn scene with glowing leaves and nice blue sky. Maybe I could also, let me try that, I could also use one more instance of color calibration, and this time channel mixer, just to improve a bit color of the sky. So I'll remove the red from the sky and bring that back here just a tiny bit. No, it's not so reddish. We have now clean distinction between the sky and the leaves. So that's enough. Let's see before and after. So I will turn that panel here on and go, I don't know, to the color calibration, add some snapshot, activate it and go to the last step. And as you can see, it's a quite improvement. So, okay, as you can see, I have used the modules to my own taste. There is no particular order, but I always think, what should I do the next step, and then choose a module accordingly and improve my edit. Okay, let's try another one. This one is quite similar to the last one. We also have nice yellow-orangey leaves as contrast to the blue sky, and I would like to enhance that, and also a little bit the reflection in the water, but I'm not sure if I really want to add too much brightness. If I add too much brightness, we will not have that nice distinction between that sunlit area and the rest. So I'll need to be careful there. So, as in the last photo, I will start with Filmic RGB because we also have a quite harsh shadows and contrasts, so we need to relieve that a little bit. Go to the Look tab, remove that contrast, and maybe also compress a little bit of shadows. And we have now that flat look as a starting point, because we can now see and recognize every detail on the photo, and we can choose what to do in the next steps. So let's darken the sky a little bit and add some saturation and contrasts with color balance RGB, but first darken the sky with color calibration module, new instance, like in the last example. And I will also use gradient mask to reduce that only to the upper part, maybe something like that. Let me see, something like that. So we can darken the blue channel and lighten a little bit a red, and it looks now much better. The difference between leaves and between that sun from the sunlit leaves and the sky is a bit better. And now we can use color balance RGB to improve the contrast and also saturation. So let's do that. Okay, maybe less saturation in perceptual saturation grading, less saturation from highlights, but we can add linear chroma grading. That means only intensity in the colors but without influencing the brightness. So let's see how far should we go, maybe something like that. And we're done with those two steps. And now I would like to brighten just a tiny bit that reflection. So I can use the next instance of exposure module with path, but drone mask, not too far. Let's see. Even less, and add tiny bit exposure there. So we are done with this one. So let's see what we can do as next step. We will improve now contrast in the highlights. So I will use tone equalizer, a new instance. No, not new instance, just tone equalizer, but I will bring it above color calibration 1 because I have darkened there the sky, so I want to add the contrast after that. So I will move tone equalizer there, and like in the last photo, I will use simple tone curve, adjust the mask a tiny bit, and go up. Yeah, I think it's enough. As you can see, we have nice contrast now. And I would like to add a little bit contrast also in that part here with the reflection. So I will use the next instance, again with simple tone curve. Again, adjust the mask, internal mask, and also use that mask what we already have been used, that drone mask from exposure module. So we are going to find it here by drone mask. Here in that part where we can read no mask used, we can use then mask which has been used for exposure module. And now on the same procedure, we're going just a tiny bit higher here, and maybe with the blacks a little bit down, so that we have that contrast. Let me turn the indicator off, and you can see we have now nice and sharp contrast there. So I don't know, I don't think we need to do anything else here. I don't need too much local contrast, so I will leave it like that. But I would like to improve also the sky color. So let me use a new instance of color calibration and channel mixer again. Bring the reds a bit down in the sky and add it back with a red channel, with input red, I mean. So, as you can see, the sky is not reddish anymore. And I think we are done. Oh, well, let me see. No, we're not. We need to deal with, I think I have here overexposure just a tiny bit. Let me see, yes. Let us improve that. Oh, excuse me. So I go now, I will now use highlight reconstruction. I think turn that indicator off and see. Yeah, as you can see, we have correct that. And do we need something else? Okay, like last time we need to correct denoise the sky and correct the lens issues with chromatic aberration, and I think need to do manually. Not too far. Let's see, maybe. Okay, I think we're done now. And okay, I can turn also chromatic aberration module itself, so we are sure that we don't have any issues there. Okay, and as you can see now, we have that nice glowing part here, nice illuminated, and this part pops up because the rest of the photo is not too bright. So we have dark areas here, but they're not so dark that we don't see any details, but they are dark enough to help us to pop up that nice glowing part with the sunlit side. Okay, let's see now before and after. So I don't know, let's start with color calibration here. Take a snapshot and go to the last step, and as you can see, it's a nice improvement in color and in brightness. Okay, the next one. This one is quite different from those two first ones, because we don't have any direct sunlight here, but we have a soft illuminated part. And the question is, what is interesting in this photo? And I will say two things. First, we have also that difference in colors. We have that nice reddish road and greenish part of the wood here, quite soft illuminated. So we need to enhance the colors there, and also that soft illumination, that soft contrast, especially in this part of the photo. But on the other side, we need to watch the sky, because our sky is quite high in brightness. So we need to be careful not to overexpose that part at the same time. So, okay, let's get started. Since we don't have the direct sunlight, we also don't have that harsh contrast there. So we don't need to improve too much filmic contrast in filmic, but I would like to go just a tiny bit down and also add some compression to the shadows, so that we have a much better view of the details there. And we can immediately go to the next step, and I think I will immediately start to improve colors there. So let's use color balance RGB and see what we get. It's too dark, but it doesn't matter. We also need to watch that part in the sky. And I think the next step will be to improve that soft contrast. And for soft contrast, I'm always using diffuse and sharpen module with multiply blend mode, so let's use it again. So we will use the bloom preset, add quite a lot of blur, so that we blur the image quite a lot, maybe something like that. And now we can use multiply blend mode, but it's quite dark, so we need to brighten the photo quite a lot. So let's go even further, maybe 4 EVs here, or even more. Let's say 5. And now we have a nice soft contrast. I think I will add a little bit of radius here, so that you have a tiny bit of sharpness everywhere. Now let me see before and after. Yeah, it's quite a nice improvement. But we also need to improve the brightness of this green part here, so we'll use a next exposure instance for that with drone mask and choose that part. Let's go quite bright with feathering, and also use the feathering here. Let me see. Oh, that's too much. Just a bit. I will say even less. So let me turn that mask indicator off and see it again. Yeah, it looks much better now. And I will also use tone equalizer, go after diffuse and sharpen, and brighten a tiny bit more the highlights. So I'll use simple tone curve again. Mask, I think it's already adjusted. Let's say something like that. And it already looks quite nice. But I think I need to I would like to have a little bit more of saturation. So let's improve that again with color balance module. Let's see how far we should go. Yeah. And I don't know, maybe, no. We don't need any, I think we don't need any local contrast there. I would like to have that soft look. But maybe I would like to add a bit brightness here also, so I will use our exposure module 1, one more mask, and let me see what we get there. Yeah, maybe it's too much, but now we can reduce that opacity of the mask when we press Control and go down with mouse wheel. Let me see, about there. Okay, again. So do we need some other improvements? I don't think so. Of course we need to deal again with our denoising and lens correction, so let me go there and see how can I improve that again manually. And blue channel and also chromatic aberrations. But I think I will also like to remove too much saturation from the sky, so I will use maybe another instance of color calibration. I'll go above tone equalizer and just remove a little bit colorfulness from the blue channel and add it on green and red. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's much nicer. So we are done with this one. So as you can see, this particular photo needs another approach. So we have another order of modules. And excuse me, need to go back and let us see before and after. So I will turn now color calibration, take a snapshot, go to the last step, and as you can see, there's quite nice improvement there. So we have now that nice three-dimensionality and also a softly illuminated part with different colors, one reddish road and greenish grass. Maybe let me try that also with that color calibration 1. Maybe we can also use here channel mixer. No, let's go with the green down. So that we have that a little bit colder, and also reduce even more the blue channel colorfulness. I will say something like that. Maybe, yeah. I think that's much better now. Okay, another one. Okay, I have forgotten to turn that keyboard status monitor on. Excuse me for that. I hope that you can follow the steps before without that indicator. And now we'll concentrate on this photo, and that will be the last edit for this episode. We will continue with editing later. And what about this photo? What is so interesting there? When we watching the raw file, it's quite boring. But I remember when I was there, what I found quite interesting is the grass. That dry grass, that yellow-orangey grass, was quite illuminated. It was nice illumination of that warm color in that practically pretty cold atmosphere and pretty cold weather. So that will be our main task. And to be able to improve that, we also need to darken a little bit of sky. Maybe give the sky some kind of cold color, some kind of bluish look, and also improve just a bit the details of the trees here in the foreground. So let's do that. As you can see, our photo is quite soft illuminated, so we don't need to adjust anything in Filmic. Maybe just a tiny bit of compression of the shadows, so that we get a little bit more details in the trees here. But we don't need to adjust the contrasts. And the next step should be to darken the sky. And we can do that quite easy with tone equalizer, but I would like to try another approach and practically address another issue with new users, how to use the quite nice masking options in Darktable. So let's start with exposure module. So we will use another instance of exposure module and try to mask the sky and darken it. So we have few options. We can use drone mask or parametric masks here, or combination of those two. So let's try that. So I will first use that gradient tool to go to mask the sky. Let's see something like that. Now we have masked the upper part of the photo with our sky. Here we go, 100%. And now we can additionally, let's turn that indicator off, use parametric mask. In this case we can use brightness option here. So we will use that color picker and choose only the part of the sky and see what we are getting there. Okay, so we can go much higher in the brightness here, as you can see, even more. And now we have practically masked completely the sky. We have only some issue here, so we can improve that with feathering radius. Let's say something like that, maybe just tiny bit of mask contrast. And as you can see, we have now masked the sky quite nicely, so we can darken it. Let's do that and be careful that we don't have any issues on the edges. I think that should be enough. As you can see, we have now combined two masks, drone mask and parametric mask, and we are able to darken the sky quite nicely. Okay, let's see what will be the next step. So let's add some contrast in the highlights here. We will influence mostly the sky so that we have some details there, and therefore I will use tone equalizer, simple tone curve. I think we don't need to adjust the mask because mask is already nice, and we go just a tiny bit higher here, maybe something like that, and we have now a bit more details in the sky. And next step, I would also like to add the contrast on the grass part, also with the tone equalizer. So let's do that, this time with mask, of course. So we'll use gradient mask, something like that here, maybe turn it a little bit in that direction and give it a bit of curve. Let me see. Okay, go a bit up, something like that. So now we can turn that indicator off, and of course we don't need to preserve the details, so we will use it again as a simple tone curve, but we need to adjust the mask. Let's say something like that. And now, oh, I forgot to toggle. I think I need to toggle. Let me see. To toggle the mask, yes, I need to mask the bottom part. Now we can improve the brightness there. As you can see, quite nice. We have now much more definition in the grass. Okay, and now colors. Of course, we can use color balance RGB. We need a bit more saturation, so let's go with that. Maybe not too much of perceptual brilliance, but quite a lot of chroma grading. So, and we need a little bit brightness in that part with the trees. We can do that with another exposure module. So let's use a new instance there. I think I will go above tone equalizer because I don't want to mess with internal mask if I have exposure before. tone equalizer. So I will go above tone equalizer and make some drone mask here. Let's see, something like that. Turn the indicator off and add some brightness there. Okay, let's adjust the mask a tiny bit. Cool. Yeah. Okay. So now we have much more depth in the photo, and let's see what can we do as next step. As I have said in the start of editing, I would like to give the sky a little bit colder color, so we will use color calibration next instance, and also use a channel mixer and go a bit up with the red channel and maybe bring a red back from the sky. And now it's not too reddish now. We have now the difference between the sky and the ground. And the next step will be to improve a little bit contrasts on our trees here. So we will use our next instance of tone equalizer for that. And since I have improved a lot of things above, I would like to go with tone equalizer, the second tone equalizer there above color calibration, because I can now mask our trees a little bit better. So let's use first just a drone mask for that. Let's say something like that, maybe a bit less. Let's see how it looks like now, and add a bit of feathering there, and we can combine that again with, let me disable the indicator, with parametric masks. So first we can use colors, I think something like that, and also the brightness. So let's use the same for the brightness. As you can see, we have mask now. Let's improve that even more. Yeah, I will say something like that. Oh, not too much. And of course we can brighten a little bit the darker part of the trees. Let me see. Yeah, that should be enough, I think. And now we need to deal with the typical issues what you have here. That's chromatic aberration, denoising. Maybe this time it will be enough just to turn chromatic aberration on, so that we don't have any issues, and it looks nice. And as last step, we have too much brightness in this particular area with snow, so we need to deal with that. So we'll use next instance of tone equalizer and mask only that part. Just with the drone mask, we don't need to lose too much time on masking. I will say something like that, and turn that indicator off, adjust the mask, in the internal mask of tone equalizer, and go down in the brightness of that part. So, and now we are done. As you can see, we have improved our photo quite a lot. So let's see before and after. Let's go, I don't know, to the color calibration. As you can see, we have now here quite boring photo. Take a snapshot go to the last step, and as you can see, we have nice colorful photo. Although we had quite a bad weather and we don't have too much colors on that particular weather, but we have succeeded in improvement quite a lot here. Okay, so that will be enough for this episode, and if you have any questions, be free to ask in the comment section and or by pixel.us in discussion forum there. And until the next time, bye bye.